One of the questions I get is how do I be a good runner? And I think starting at the basic level of walking, being active, and being used to being, exerting energy, getting a certain amount of steps, whatever that is for you. Most people, it's like 7,500 to 10,000 is like a good echelon to like be at every day. That'll vary. Again, it's all like based on your age, experience, background, even maybe like were you an athlete. I think that sometimes me being an athlete helps because I do have that muscle memory and I have that. It feels like I can kind of get back to my old self a little bit easier because I'm used to the training regimen. I'm used to doing it before. I kind of know what it takes to regain myself, so to speak. And so it feels like it gives me a little bit of an advantage. So if you are a former athlete or a current athlete, obviously you're gonna have the advantage of not starting from zero. But if you are starting from zero, from a background of maybe like not having much knowledge of fitness or level, you just kind of want to get off the couch. I think it starts with walking, like what I'm doing right now. I'm walking my son on the stroller down this path, and like it's good because I'm moving, I'm getting steps in, I'm not exerting a lot of energy. My heart rate zone, just so you know, because this is another thing I need to cover, is 86 right now, 85. So it's below 100. So we're definitely in that one zone. Your heart rate zone is 80. So let's see. How do I categorize it? It is your age. That plays a factor into it. So I'll kind of try to tell you how that fits. So for me, zone 1 is like 100 through 115 or something like that. Okay. Zone 2 is like 115 to 130. Zone 3 is like 130 to 150. Zone 4 is 150 to like 170, and then 170 above is like zone 5. Your basically highest zone, your red zone. So that level 1 is like basically your resting heart rate, things you're doing. If you're walking around the house, you're probably zone 1. If you're, in somewhat good shape, I would say like walking would be zone 1 still. For me, zone 1 is that when I'm out of shape, sometimes that's zone 2. So zone 2 is a little bit more concerted effort. Maybe if you're walking the dog, who's a little bit faster pace, or you're picking up boxes from Amazon that are heavy, bringing them into the house, doing a little bit of exercise, or loading groceries or unloading groceries, bringing them in the house. Like maybe you're zone 2 because it's a little bit more exhausting, a little bit more challenging, if you will. Zone 3 for me is more of a walk. I'm sorry, not a walk. I wish. Zone 3 for me is more of a jog. So it's if I'm doing some light jogging. You guys see I'm on this path right now. If I were to be jogging this path, I'd probably be zone 3. Initially, I'd probably like start, obviously start in 1 and then get up to 2 real quick. And then I'd probably stay in 3 for most of the run. Most of the jog, rather. Maybe at the end of the jog, like it goes back up to, high 3s, low 4s, but it's definitely going to be closer to 3, I would say. And then 4s, would be, oh, there's a coyote out there. You guys see that? Crazy. I don't think I've ever seen a coyote here. I hear them all the time, but I've never seen one in this area. In the daylight. Crazy. Where did he go? If they have a den or something over there. Anyways, zone 4 would be like more of a high level effort jog, slow run, maybe even your run. You know, zone 4, if you're in good shape, your zone 4 is probably a run. And zone 5 is like a good run, hard sprints. You basically don't have anything else to give. You're huffing and puffing. There's the coyote. Nature, man. So that's where we are right now. I am 96, so it's going up a little bit because I am walking longer and talking, and I'm still not used to the walking and talking at once. So I'm getting used to that. I think that knowing your heart rate zone is super important before you start being active and fit, and knowing where you feel comfortable. Usually for me, I feel good in the 3s or below. 4 is when I'm like pushing it, I'm doing a run that day. But anything below zone 4 is mostly like recovery or just more of a rest and relaxation state. So I feel good and comfortable in that. And then zone 4 and above is when I feel uncomfortable. So zone 4 is kind of like, for me, I'm out of breath a little bit. I can still talk and breathe, but it's definitely uncomfortable. And zone 5 is mostly a sprint. I don't like zone 5 at all. It's not why I run. Zone 5 is the opposite of why I run. And zone 5 is why I didn't like running when I was younger, because I remember playing sports. You know, I've referenced this before, but running a mile under 6 minutes was freaking fast. Like, you know, like I remember like puking or nearly puking after that, because I was so out of breath and like exerted so much energy and effort just to do that, to make the team. And like running the track was just awful. I absolutely hated it because I was so out of breath and I felt like I was gonna puke and I was gonna just like, it just didn't feel good, you know? And so I really discovered my love for running after I realized that, hey, you don't have to be in zone 5 to run. You don't have to be in zone 4 to run. You could run in a zone 3 or a zone 2 even and be comfortable, breathe fine. And so it's really controlling your heart rate zone. And that's when I fell in love with running, was when I started to do heart rate zone training specific. So it consisted of me wearing a heart rate monitor and just really like being cognizant of where I'm at. And making sure that I didn't stray outside that zone. So for instance, one time or one class would be like, hey, you need to stay in the zone 2s today. And that's hard to do, you know, because you always feel like you can go faster than zone 2, you know, when you're doing a workout. But I think it's like taking your pride aside and realizing that like, hey, if I go faster than this, I'm going to be out of zone 2. And if I'm out of zone 2, then I'm like failing the objective, you know, for that class. But it was just stay in zone 2. And so getting really familiarized with the zones, the heart rate zone, sticking to it, realizing the limits of your body, what's going to take you out of that zone or what's going to bring you back to that zone, for instance. You know, how quickly can you go from a zone 4 to a zone 1? How quickly can you go from a zone 5 to a zone 2? You know, like knowing that gives you a lot of good data that you can draw on. And moving forward, it's something you can use in your arsenal to sort of set your workouts and start, you know, once you, like, the better you know your body, you better you know your limitations, where you're currently at your baseline, the easier it is to move forward, in my opinion. So just start, like, this is my opinion, start walking, check out your heart rate, know what heart rate zone you fall into as you're doing it. So you need to look at those metrics to know, like, what zone you fall in. I forget what the exact metrics are, but it's based on your age, and it'll tell you based off of your age, like, where you fall. And I'll link that in the description here because I'm totally failing to remember on the spot. And once you know that, you can go from there and realize, like, if you're walking and you're in a 3, you're not talking, whatever, and it's hard for you, then you need to practice walking a little bit more before you start running, in my opinion. Like, your walk should be in that 1 range before you even consider running, you know what I mean? Like, you have to get used to walking before you run. It's the same thing as, like, kids. They learn to crawl before they walk. Same process here, you know. You can't run before you crawl, and so forth. So that's just food for thought. That's how I would start my fitness journey, is to walk slowly. Do a little bit. Do a 10-minute walk around your neighborhood. Do a 15-minute walk. Start with that, and start like 3 times a week. Like, start super slow. You don't need to push yourself. You don't need to, you know, compete with anybody, because everyone's beginning is going to be their own beginning. And, you know, you might not be competing with your work if you're doing like a work competition or a friend competition or whatever, but that's okay, because, like, we're all at different places in life. So again, start slow, walk 10-15 minutes a couple times a week, go from there. Assess yourself, think about what you can do better. Do you need to be more hydrated? Do you need to wear the proper attire? That includes shoes. Like, shoes are super important. Like, don't wear old, worn out, crappy shoes when you're walking. I got the new Adidas Alpha Boost V2s on. I buy shoes all the time. I mean, I'm not saying you have to, but it's just like, my shoes get worn out so quickly because I'm always walking or running outside. And I like to alternate a lot too. Like, I don't want to wear the same shoe too much, because then that's when you hurt your feet. You get the injuries, you get the blisters. And I'm really cognizant about those setbacks and really trying to avoid any setback I can. Because it is the worst when you just want to work out, or you just want to, like, continue that progress and you can't, because your body is limiting that. And so my strategy there is to have an arsenal of shoes. It doesn't have to be so many, and they don't have to be $high shoes, but at least 3 to 5 that you can switch between. So, like, if you go for a walk on Monday, maybe on Tuesday you wear a different pair of shoes, because, again, you don't want to wear out those same shoes. I do that for running. Like, if I run 5 days a week, I'm wearing a different shoe every day, because I don't want to wear those shoes out, and I don't want to put too much stress in like one particular area of my shoe. That's just me. Like, it seems to work well for me. Like, it seems like the traction and tread stays there a lot longer if you alternate and you're not just like beating down one shoe, then replacing, then beating down that shoe, then replacing. I like to just have my my arsenal's a little bit bigger than 3 to 5, but you know what I mean. I'm a shoe guy. Like, I have a lot of shoes, dozens and dozens and dozens of shoes, and I just got a 50 shoe rack for my garage, thinking, yo, that's gonna be plenty. It works for now. Like, the interim, it's a good solution, but it's not the end all be all. Let's put it that way. I like shoes. And I like getting good deals on shoes. So if I see a good deal on a shoe, for instance, these like Alpha Boosts I referenced, normally $100 and change, $112, something like that. I got them for 46, 40, 42, something like that. And it was just like, okay, at that point, you kind of have to, especially if it's in a colorway you like, and you know, like, this shoe's comfy. These are comfy as hell to wear for a walk. I don't know about running. They don't have that glove fit like the Ultra Boost do, the Adidas Ultra Boost. But the Alpha Boost feels really good for walking. And so again, as you get more experience with the walking game, the running game, you're gonna draw those conclusions yourself and realize what good shoes are. And you're not gonna like have to rely on other people for their advice or their input. So that's what I've learned along the way. These are good walking shoes. So these will be my go-to for that, or my go-to for just like kind of doing errands out and about, because they're pretty stylish too. So, but then my Ultra Boosts, and I'll reference this later in a video, those are my babies for running. So tonight, because I've taken the last, 4 days off because life has been crazy hectic. I'm gonna use those babies tonight. So I got some green Ultra Boost 5X. The things are sweet, man. You put them on and you're just like, okay, these are quality. Like, it fits your foot like a glove almost. They just comfy as hell. And so when I do my runs, I want to wear a shoe like that where I feel like, okay, I can go the distance in this. I've ran, like I said, my personal best is 10 miles right now. I did that in an Ultra Boost, and Ultra Boosts are just my go-to for shoes. Yeah, there's those people out there that will disparage them. Those people that do, marathons or half marathons, or those like, those dude bros that want to tell you that, like, oh, you have to wear Hoka's, or you have to wear, On Cloud, or whatever the new trend is. I'm telling you, man, like, Adidas Ultra Boost, if you're a beginner or intermediate runner, that's all you need. You need one to start with. Like, usually you can find them for under $100. They're comfy as hell. They're great for walking. They're great for running. They're very versatile in that aspect. There's many variations of them, and I think that all of them are good. Like, they all have their pros and cons, right? Like, some are heavier, some are lighter, some are more durable. They make ones for rain, weatherproofing, and ones for cold weather, ones for warm weather, that kind of thing. But ultimately, if you can find one for under $100, start your running journey with those. Like, I think that you'll be set off. That's how I did it. I feel good about it. I still go back to them with my runs. I think I fall into that intermediate category of a runner, and I still wear Ultra Boost. And I'm planning for my half marathon next. I have ambitions to do a marathon in my life. And I think I'm gonna stick with Ultra Boost unless there's an opportunity to wear a shoe that I can be proven that is better. I think I'll be just fine in those, like, just because, again, the comfort's there. I have that reassurance. Like, I've been through the battles with those shoes, you know, like I've done the work in them, you know what I mean? So like I can do it again. It doesn't faze me. And so that's how I'm feeling.